welcome to Poosh's Wellness Wednesday. I'm Poosh's resident heartbreak coach, Byrne, and I'm thrilled to be here to answer lots of your heartbreak questions. I talk a lot, so I'm going to dive right in. First question, at Meg Keeps. How to get used to rejection. So, at Meg Keeps, very interesting the way you phrased the question. First of all, I'm assuming that you have a story about your past where you have been rejected more than one time, because you phrase it how to get used to rejection, like it's happened multiple times. First of all, I want to share with you that rejection is just a story. So you could have 3 people who you dated who broke up with you, right? And then you could also call it them rejecting you. Which story feels worse? 3 people saying, I no longer want to date you, or 3 people rejecting you. The rejection has such a negative weight to it and really is just a thought. And then you want to know how to get used to it instead of changing the story. You're like anticipating that it's going to keep happening, that you're going to keep getting rejected, which is totally normal. We've all done it. I still do it, and I'm a coach, right? Something has happened a few times, and so you expect it to continue to happen. When we expect things to happen, when we expect the other shoe to drop, it usually does, right? What I want to offer you is, when you are thinking about how other people have rejected you, you have an opportunity to go inside and look at how you are rejecting yourself. We only attract people who we believe reject us because in some way, shape, or form, we are rejecting ourselves. And it might not even be in your love life, but I would assume if you are signing up for people who leave you, there is some aspect that you are leaving of yourself. It could be your relationship to your health. It could be your relationship to your body. It could be your relationship to money. It could be your work life. It could be family relationships where you are not stepping into your power and owning you and loving you. And so it is reflecting in your love life. So what I'm going to offer you is change your story. They didn't reject you. You could just say they broke up with me, and you get to decide the meaning that you want to make out of it. And instead of saying, how do I get used to rejection? How about you start embracing yourself versus rejecting yourself and really taking an honest evaluation on how you treat yourself. Now, many times new clients come to me and they say, no, I'm great. All the other areas of my life are great. It's just this one thing. But I'm always uncovering stuff as we start talking about the coworker keeps doing this to me. I keep getting, less money than what my other coworker is getting, right? That we have these stories that we don't even realize that we're accepting and settling for. And you have the opportunity to really learn how to love and embrace you and accept you. And then when you start doing that and you show up in your dating life, you're going to be attracting a higher caliber partner. That said, there are no guarantees. People might still break up with you, but your reaction to it and the meaning that you're going to make out of it isn't going to be, oh, this person's rejecting me. Again, it's like, oh, that person left me. I can take an honest evaluation here about why this did or why this didn't work, right? And there might be some things that you still need to work on. I'm not saying that this isn't about you and that you were perfect, right? But it's also not an opportunity to shame yourself and blame yourself. It could just be, why do I think that these relationships haven't worked, and how can I heal, learn, and grow from them, and how can I learn to love myself more and keep showing up until I find that right person. I am 39 years old. I was in a lot of shitty relationships throughout my 20s and into majority of my 30s. And so that really was my work. But now that I'm in my ideal relationship, I don't look at any of those stories and any of those relationships as me getting rejected. I mean, sometimes I broke up with those people, but I used to think like you did. I used to think, oh, this person's rejecting me. This person's abandoning me. That was my story. But when I really took a closer look at myself in the mirror, I was abandoning myself in a lot of ways, in my finances, with my body, with my acting career at the time, and even as I was building my coaching business. So it's always an opportunity for you to embrace you versus for you to reject you. Hope that helps. Okay, at Rose Davis, the best way to compromise in a relationship? I think this is a great question. You have to get really clear about what are the things that you want, and look at the things that your partner really wants and decide what you are willing to compromise on and what you are not. I just moved my life for love from LA to Santa Barbara. The relationship couldn't work any other way. Based on his life and my life, it made the most sense for me to move here. I had to really ask myself, is this coming from a place of sufficiency? Does this move really serve me? And, honestly, I would never be moving to this place if it wasn't for him. But because of the relationship and because it nourishes me and he's the love of my life, I believe, it's worth it for me. But am I the one making a compromise? Absolutely. So you just have to check. You have to decide what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And sometimes we make compromises for the people that we love that we're not really that thrilled about. And you, again, just have to check yourself. Is this something that I'm going to manage my mind around and not be bitter or resentful for later? Because you are responsible for how you feel. That other person isn't. And you are responsible for making that decision to compromise, not that other person. But always checking and making sure that those decisions are coming from a place of sufficiency, honest and open communication. And if it is bringing up resentfulness towards your partner, have an open, honest, vulnerable conversation with them as well, because that's only going to bring you closer. Or maybe he or she comes up with another solution where both of you can feel like you're both happy about whatever that decision is. Hope that helps. At RD Janus, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. How to break a toxic bond with someone you can't seem to forget / leave for good. Okay, the way you phrase this is interesting. You said you can't seem to forget or leave. You, I'm assuming, are a grown-up who absolutely can leave. But I've been there, my friend. I've been in many toxic relationships where I felt like I could not leave, but I 100% could, and I did, and it was excruciatingly painful. So you have to get clear. Are you looking to be in a healthy, happy, whole, passionate, loyal, committed, monogamous relationship? Are you looking for that, right? And if that is what you are looking for, I just talked about this in my most recent Poosh article, Why We Make Excuses for Bad Behavior. If you are, make it math. If you are looking for that kind of healthy, happy, whole, passionate, loyal, committed relationship, and it's not happening in this one, you got to just cut it off. Cut off the ties with his mom, his sister, all of his friends. Cut it off. Do yourself a favor. Be willing to feel that excruciating pain. That negative emotion, it is the worst feeling. It's why I became a heartbreak coach, because I felt like it was the most unbearable feeling, even though I intellectually knew that my partner was a toxic person. It was the worst to leave. And again, read that article. I think it'll be very enlightening for you, because we all have thoughts that keep us in the relationship. Our thoughts create our results. And so you have to really think bigger picture. And if what you ultimately want is that ideal relationship and it's not happening, you have to be willing to feel the pain and then do the work on you. As I said to @MegKeeps, how are you rejecting you? How are you abandoning you? How are you being toxic? It's a relationship, so it's two people. I was in a very emotionally abusive relationship, but you know what? I was part of the problem too, because I kept saying yes. And it was because of my lack of love for myself. So don't believe the BS story that you can't leave. You absolutely can. You just have to decide, are you willing to feel that excruciating pain and dig deep and understand your growth and your lessons and fall in love with you, and then put yourself out there again, and you will absolutely be attracting a much higher caliber person. Hope that helps. At Ames.smart. I'm talking really fast because I want to get everyone's questions in. How do you gain closure if your ex has cut off all means of contact? So that person has cut off all means of contact and you think you still need closure from that person. My question to you is, what other closure do you need with that person completely cutting you out? Now, I had a client and she really struggled with the same thing. And her thought was, remember, your thoughts create your results. Her thought was, I know him cutting me out should be closure enough, but it's still really, really hard, right? And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. You think you should feel closure because he cut you off, right? And that was what I initially said to you, right? Well, that should be closure enough. But if it isn't, and you're just like feeling like you're going crazy and you're obsessing over it and trying to make sense of it, and it's just not working. You just have to be with that discomfort. This is where mindfulness comes in. I'm watching my brain, my thoughts create my results, and my thought is him cutting me out isn't giving me the closure. And really underneath that is, I want him or her, I'm not sure here, you didn't say if it was a he or a she, I want that person to give me the closure. Oh, I'm noticing, I'm looking outside of myself for the closure that actually I can go within and figure out for myself, but I'm not there yet. The thought is just really raw and stubborn and loud and persistent. And I'm feeling really attached to that versus I can give myself the closure that I need. So be with that painful thought, breathe through it, watch the thought, give yourself loving compassion, find your feet on the ground, breathe that pain. I always put my hand on my heart because I feel heartbreak, and I very much feel that heartbreak in my heart center. And I put my hand on my heart. I used to be very resistant to this practice. Now I embrace it and I just say, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is how it makes me feel. I'm breathing through it. That pain is not going to kill you. And then there will be a calm. You will feel a sense of peace and openness. And from there, I would ask yourself, how can I give myself the closure that I'm looking for from him? And then let your brain look for that evidence. When you position the question in a way to help you bring it back to you, your brain will look for that evidence, right? Hope that helps. At Wigs for Life, how do you stay strong and not reach out to an ex? It's the same answer I gave to at RD Janus or RD Janus about how to break a toxic bond with someone you can't seem to forget / leave. First of all, you phrase it as, how do you stay strong and not reach out? What if we just take strong out of it and you just, again, make it math? I'm just not going to do it. It doesn't make you strong. It doesn't make you weak, right? Because when you position it like that, and then when you reach out, you then have a story about you being weak. You're heartbroken. It sucks. It's painful. And all you want, again, I'm assuming, is the answer from the ex or the ex to come back, right? And so I would just, again, commit the brain. What is the result that I want? This person is no longer in my life. What you're thinking right now is you want that person back. That's the title of my podcast, How to Stop Wanting Him Back. It applies to all races, genders, religions, sexual orientations. It's just my own experience as a heterosexual woman. But we really want the person to come back, but they're not coming back. So again, how can you be with that pain in the same way that I just said that to @ames.smart? How do you gain closure if your ex has cut off all means of contact, right? It's like, how can I just like give that to myself and be with that pain and be with that longing? And it's just a non-negotiable. I'm not reaching out. You just tell yourself, like, you have more power to not reach out than you realize, in the same way that I gave that answer to how to break at RD Janus, right? Like, you have the power and you're just telling yourself you don't. But again, when you tell your brain, no, I'm just not going to do it, you won't do it. And you feel the pain and you feel the urge and you don't satisfy that urge. And then you have friends in place, or hire a good coach. I have a couple of spots available, or hire a good therapist. Someone just recently reached out to me and said, Claire, I can't afford you. And I said, well, there's lots of great therapists out there. And she's like, well, the ones that I like aren't available. Keep looking for your person, because your person is out there. I tried multiple healers before I found the right one. I tried multiple coaches before I found the coaches that I work with now. Don't give up. Your solution is out there. Don't believe the story that that person isn't out there. So just tell yourself, I'm not reaching out, and it doesn't make me strong. It doesn't make me weak. I'm just committed to moving on. I hope that that helps. Okay, 3 anonymous questions. What are your tips on rebuilding self-esteem after a breakup? And she painted a picture. This reader is from Ireland, my homeland. So I loved her message. And she said, he was hot and cold, and he's got commitment issues, and made up and broke up, and ultimately circled back and was like, well, can we just hang out? And she said, absolutely not. So I'm proud of her. And ultimately she's asking, how can I rebuild my self-esteem? So my question to her is, why does he have the power to dictate your level of self-esteem? He doesn't have that power. He really doesn't. And so just notice the story that you're telling yourself, that he has the power to dictate your level of worth. What? BS. Or is it in Ireland, we'd say, what a load of horse shite, right? I hope I'm allowed to say that, Poosh, sorry. But really and truly, how do you want to build your self-esteem is how you want to think about yourself. So what are you thinking about him? It sounds to me like, and usually the common thought is, I am not enough. He doesn't think I'm enough, which really means you don't think you're enough, right? But how you'll know you're enough is that you have no interest in being with someone who's hot and cold, has commitment issues, circles back, and is like, can we just hang? You're like, hell no. The future version of you who is healed, happy, whole, and her self-esteem is up here, is just like, bye. No, thank you. What's your name again? Oh, yeah, no, bye. And also, you've just cut off contact with him so that he's like a figment of your imagination. So really the work is on you. Think thoughts about you to increase your self-esteem. Look at how you are enough without him in the picture. Actually, you're more than enough without him in the picture. Thank God he left for you to do that work on you. Next question, how do I stop thinking about my ex with someone else? So if you can't stop thinking about your ex with someone else, if your brain is just on overdrive and attaching to that story, again, it's a similar question to how do I get out of the toxic relationship? You know, it's like, I want that person, I want that person. And here I can't stop thinking, oh my God, who is he with? Who is he with? Or who is she with, right? And it's like, you got to just watch the brain. The more we try to stop the brain from thinking about the thing that we don't want to think about, the more it will keep thinking that thing. So this is an opportunity for you to, again, put your hand in your heart, feel that sick feeling at the thought of him or her with someone else, and move through that and breathe through that. She also talks about how she potentially is going to be moving to a neighborhood where he lives in her city, and she really is, you know, torn about that. But my question to you is, you know, are you more committed to the healing and moving forward and living your best life, or moving to a neighborhood where you could bump into that person and feel like the heartbreak is happening over and over and over again? Really be on to yourself. And many people say to me, well, Claire, why should I alter the neighborhood that I want to live in just because of that person? And, you know, again, you don't have to move to a different neighborhood and give that person the power. You could give the power to yourself and say, I'm more committed to my healing and living my best, happy, whole life. So the thing that's going to serve me the most is to move to a neighborhood where I'm not going to bump into this person who I'm not over at this time. Last question, I share a child with my ex and see him every weekend. How do I move past his cheating and stop thinking I wasn't enough? You also talk about how, you know, maybe you didn't look good enough, or was it your weight? And so those are your thoughts about you, my love. You are perfect just as you are, but you have to believe that, and notice how you are giving him the power to believe that you aren't good enough, right? It's the same, it's similar to the self-esteem question. And how do you get past his cheating? You know, you don't have to be okay with it. You just get to see him as the other person who's the parent of your children, and you function that way, and you don't have to approve of it, and you get to feel that pain and that discomfort. And again, what is the meaning that you're making out of his cheating? The way you're phrasing it here is like, oh, maybe if I was thin enough or looked better, he wouldn't have cheated. But why would you want to be with anyone who would cheat on you, period, right? Again, this is the opportunity for you to do the work on how you are enough. And you also get to do the work on neutralizing your contact with that person who happens to be the father of your children, and show up and love on you and know your enoughness, and you are going to be just fine. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Poosh Wellness Wednesday videos. Love you all so much.